Hey everybody, welcome back to my office and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So if you saw a previous video I did talking about me breaking a lens, it got me thinking afterwards if it had anything to do with the camera bag that I was using, the backpack that I was using at the time that led to that. Now, I'm not blaming it. It was my fault. It was just rushing. It was not thinking. It was just going a little bit too fast. But it also got me thinking about the differences in my camera cases that I use to carry my gear in. Now, let's start out with the basics. This is a camera bag. This is a camera backpack. Differences are, this is designed so that you can put it over your shoulder and you carry it like this. This is designed to wear as a backpack. Most people, when they start out, end up with a camera bag. Why? Because they're cheap, because they're smaller, and they buy one because it fits the gear of the day. Problem is everything that I just said. You buy it, it fits the gear of the day. It was cheap. So you get one, and then you get an extra lens, and you go, what do I do with the extra lens? I don't have space for it. So if you don't have a camera case of some type at this point, don't buy it for the gear you have today. Buy it for the gear that you may have in the future. Now, I don't mean to go out and buy a big one. I had a huge one. It was amazing. It was at least 5 pounds, just the backpack itself. It had everything. It had an extra backpack attached to it as a day pack, so you could put snacks and stuff in it. It had a rain cover. It had an internal frame. It had stabilizer. It had everything. It was heavy. I could carry all my camera equipment plus extra gear in it, and it made it even more heavy. So don't go overboard. But if you're thinking of getting an additional lens, and right now all you have is a camera with a lens on it, and that's it. Consider when you're buying a bag or a backpack even, that it will hold the extra gear that you're thinking about. Now, it's not 100%. You may change tomorrow and decide to buy a different lens, so on and so forth, but make sure it holds the gear. One big thing is that most of my bags do not hold my 150 to 600, whether it's attached to the camera or not. This bag does. In fact, I have it in here right now, and it holds it really well. And I like it for that purpose, is that it will carry it. It's not super heavy, but it's still able to carry this lens. With the lens in it, it's a little bit heavier, but it is able to carry it. So, buy a bag that's going to grow with you for at least a year or so, if you can. Now, what are the differences between backpacks and the bags? Well, when I first started out, all there was the camera bags. Great thing with them is that everything just drops into the top. So you get a lens, you drop it in, you know it's in here, and it's safe. The other great thing is that while you're wearing it, while it's over your shoulder and it's hanging here, you could walk along and you could open it up, you could pull out a lens, and you could put it on your camera. You could then put the other lens back in here and continue on. Worked great for when I was doing weddings. Worked great for when I worked for the media. And I'd be following somebody, a politician or somebody, and I wanted a different view, and I didn't want to stop and dig through and everything. This was great for that. It worked wonderful for that. A camera backpack sucks for that. It's on your back. You can't get into it. So camera bag works much better for this. The problem with the camera bag is the same thing that made it so good, is that it had this strap on it. And this strap sits on your shoulder. And after 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours of it being on your shoulder, it got heavy. But it's great because you could get into it while you were working. It was wonderful because it just worked so well for that. And I had a few bigger ones. In fact, I still have a really old big one back here that I use for putting in some oversized gear when I go on location. It works great for that. It really does. But for carrying it for long term, this can get really on your nerves, really on your shoulders, your back and everything really fast, and it can become really uncomfortable. So watch for that for the bags. Now, after the bags, we get into backpacks. And like I said, I've had big backpacks. I have a massive one at home still. Not as big as the one that I just recently sold. That one was just way too big. But I have smaller ones all the way up to the bigger ones. Buy a backpack that works for you. Buy a backpack that holds the gear that you want. Don't haul everything with you at all times. It'll just be too heavy. And again, I go out there and I see people doing some really weird stuff. I see people using their bag to carry their laptop, their charger, their mouse, all of this stuff, and they're only on a day shoot. Now, I understand that if you're traveling. I understand that if you're going like overnight. I understand all of that. But if you're just going out for a shoot, why are you carrying all this gear? And I've asked people, why are you doing this? And they say, well, just in case I need it. It's heavy. So be careful that you're not carrying too much stuff. In fact, if you have to, and I know it's not cost effective, I recommend getting a small bag that you can just use for the day. If you're shooting weddings, you don't need to carry 14 different lenses. You don't need to carry all of the filters that you use for nature and wildlife. You don't need to carry a lot of this stuff. So get a smaller bag that works for just the weddings. Likewise, if you do nature photography, if you're going out shooting wide angle lenses, you don't need to carry all your telephoto lenses. Just carry the stuff that works for you. Now, what's the big advantage of a backpack? Well, simply, it's a backpack. It goes on your shoulder. It distributes the weight so that it's not quite as painful on the back, and it works great. I strongly recommend that if you do get a backpack, get one with a really, really good waist belt, because it'll help to cinch it in. It just helps so much. It just makes it so much more comfortable. That this little thing, as much as you may not use it, when you do use it, it's just so nice to have. This one does not have that, and a couple of my other ones don't have anything for the waist. And when I'm walking, I can feel the difference. This one rides so nicely, even with my 150 to 600, even with a camera body, even with a couple extra lenses stuffed in here, it still rides so much nicer when it's cinched down completely than the ones that don't have the waist belt. Now, you're going to find that there's two types of backpacks. There's the ones that open at the front, and there's ones that open at the back. The ones that open at the back go up against your back. The great thing about them is that when you're walking, stuff can't fall out. If you forget to zip it up, ones that open this way, guess what? Stuff falls out. Stuff can come out this way. This one here, if you forget to zip it up and you put it on your back, nothing is going to fall out. And you would not believe how many times I've been walking along, stopped, taking this pack off my back to check to make sure I've zipped it up. So I much prefer them opening this way so that it goes up against your back. Also makes it a little bit nicer because you don't have to worry about somebody trying to get into your pack while you're walking. I know it's something sad to think about in this day and age, but you do have to think about security and everything. And if it's all zipped up, if it's all up against your back, it's a little bit safer. Now, one of the big advantages of the backpacks over the bag is that the bag hangs off to your side. The bag hangs off to your front. The bag hangs off. With a backpack, it's so nice because it rides against your back. And if you're walking down a trail, if you're walking in a church, you don't have anything off to the side. So it works so much nicer for stuff like that. Do you need something that carries your laptop? Do you need something that carries all your filters, all your lenses, all your flashes? All? Probably not. But if you do travel a lot, if you do location weddings, if you do location photo shoots of any type, you're probably going to want a bag to carry that can carry everything. I'd recommend getting a harder case bag and still taking your backpack and then putting your harder case where you go as a base camp and just taking out what you need for the day. Now, how to pack it? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You have all these variable dividers in them that are stuck in with Velcro, and you set it up so that it works perfect for your camera and the gear that you have. Now, one thing I don't like about this bag, and this is the bag that the lens fell out of, is I hate this extra space at the top. To me, it is completely and totally useless. And it's actually what happened when the lens fell out. And again, I'm not blaming the bag. but I went to flip it up so that I could access this top part, and that's when the lens fell out. I much prefer everything in one opening, that when you open it up, you can access everything, you can put it back down, and you're done. Really prefer that. The dividers. This one here, the dividers seem much more rigid. They hold their shape a lot better. In this one here, the dividers seem really flimsy, and no matter how tight you do it, when you put a lens in here, it never seems to hold it. They always seem to be bouncing around a little bit. Whereas in this one here, with the thicker padding, with a little bit more rigidness to it, the lenses seem to sit in here a lot better. This one is deeper than what this one is, but again, this one just doesn't seem to hold the stuff as well. And I used this one for years. I actually got this one back when I was shooting film still, and I loved it. It worked great, and I still use it today. Like I say, the lens falling out, that was my fault. It wasn't the bag. But I just find this one just holds stuff a lot better, and it's a lot better to organize. The one drawback to this one, and you may want to check when you're getting one, is that this does not open all the way. And it's a real pain when you're trying to get a filter out that's down here and you're fighting it so that you can get it out. It sort of makes the whatever's down here at the bottom hard to get to. So check to make sure that it's easy to get to, that this flips up. Check to make sure there's nice padding on the back. This one again has less padding than what this one has. They're very close, but this one just seems to sit a lot better on the back. This one does have, and I'll make sure I zip it up because like I said, my big lens is in there. This one does have an area to carry a laptop in it, and I have used it for that, but generally I don't use it for a laptop. One thing that you want to make sure of is that it either comes with a waterproof cover if you're going to use it outside in the various weather conditions, or buy a cover for it, because no matter how good they are, they're not waterproof unless you get a cover for them. And I don't want to say the biggest thing, but a big thing to look for is make sure that it has a way of carrying a tripod. I don't like the ones that have the tripod on the top or on the bottom going this way, because they seem to always catch on stuff. I don't like it when the tripod sits in the side and then straps into the side, because it seems to always be catching stuff, hitting doors. If you're in a church going through a doorway, if you're out in the bush walking through bushes, it always seems to catch on stuff. Now, if you are going to carry a tripod a lot, I strongly recommend, for your back's sake, go out and buy yourself a really good quality light tripod. Don't try to carry a heavy tripod. It's just a pain, literally and figuratively. So go out and get a tripod that works. I use, most times when I've got the backpack with me, I use my monopod, and I also use it as a walking stick. So that's just one way that I use it. So that's a few things to look for. There's a whole bunch more things we could talk about, like grab handles and everything. But the biggest thing is find one that works for you. Find ones that work for your equipment. Find one that gives you a little bit of room to grow into, and get something that you're comfortable with. Go to a camera store, try it out, try putting your gear in it, make sure that you like it, make sure you can unzip it, make sure it's comfortable for you, make sure it sits on your back properly, get it adjusted properly, and then go from there. So until next time, get out there, take some amazing pictures, get a good carrying system for your camera gear, take what you need out there and shoot away. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye now.